Hello everybody and welcome to my knitting podcast, Unwind to Knit with me. My name is Lisa and I'm coming to you from New Zealand, from Christchurch, which is in the South Island. Welcome to all of my returning viewers. Welcome back, and if you are new to my channel, welcome, and I hope you enjoy the podcast. And as always, please subscribe if you like the content. So this is episode 56 and today is Saturday the 11th of May, and I just want to first of all go sorry, my mind's all over the place today. A few admin-y things, okay? It's how I always start. Facebook and Instagram as Unwind to Knit with me, and I have a community Facebook group which please come over and join. It's also Unwind to Knit with me, and everything I talk about today, whether it's patterns or yarns or books or tutorials, I do leave all the links below in my show notes. And I also have an online store, which you can kind of see around me. My online store is unwindtoknit.com. So thank you to everybody that supports my online store. Also, when you go onto my online store, there is an option that you can tick the box to subscribe to emails. So I don't swamp you with emails. I probably only do one every 2 months. I'm not very good at doing that, but so rest assured that you won't be getting emails. I won't be spamming you with emails, but so please subscribe, because that's where you can hear about updates or new products or specials. I think that's all my admin-y things. Once again, just welcome back to all my existing viewers and welcome to new viewers. We have, since my last episode, we've reached 3,000 subscribers. So I am really, really happy. I want to celebrate. I did say in my last podcast I was around 2,990. So we have reached that milestone of 3,000. So thank you to everybody. And I am going to do a couple of giveaways to celebrate that. And I'll talk to you about them a bit later on the podcast when I do my shop update. So I have got a giveaway coming. For those that know me and follow me, you'll know that I'm off to Canada in 3 days. 3 more sleeps to go. So it's been a really big trip that we've been planning. I'm going to be away for about 25 days, which is a long time to be away. And it seemed like forever away, and then now it's kind of creeped up on me really quickly. So this is the last podcast that I'll be doing for probably about 5 weeks. I will post definitely on my social media some photos and maybe a few videos of my trip. I'm going to Toronto Knit City. That was that's what started this whole planning. Is I sort of said to my husband, I'd really love to go to a Knit City or a Rhinebeck or one of those big knitting shows overseas. So I chose Knit City Toronto. I leave on Tuesday with a friend, and we are going to be meeting up with Noelle and Kelly from Knits and Pieces, and I think there's going to be another couple of other podcasters there, and we're going to hang out with them at the hotel that's hosting the event for a few days. Then we're heading to Sarnia, where Noelle and Kelly live, and they're going to take us to a few of their local yarn stores, and I'm just so excited to hang out with them. And then after about 10 days, my husband's going to fly in and join me. And then we're going to do a road trip, and we're going to go to Quebec and lots of places to do a road trip. And I'll be home in about 4 weeks. So that's probably why I seem a little bit like, what's going on? I've got so many things to do. And I seem to have left everything to the last minute. But I have got lots of notes. I've got lots of things to share with you. I've got FOs, new cast-ons, lots and lots. So let's just get into it, shall we? I will just say I am in my shop and the door is open. So I'm hoping I don't get any interruptions, because I haven't advertised that my shop's open today. But you never know. There might be the odd pause if I have to stop. So we will get started. I also just wanted to acknowledge that tomorrow is Mother's Day. So happy Mother's Day to all the mums. Hope you get to celebrate. If not, I know there's a lot of you that haven't got your mums have passed over, and it's just a really good day to reflect and remember them. So happy Mother's Day to everyone. I'm looking forward to it. My daughter's coming home, and who knows what we'll do. We'll probably do takeaway. I'm not cooking on Mother's Day. It's my day off. So hopefully I can get my podcast done. I can get all my chores done. I can pack, because I haven't packed yet, and just sit and relax and enjoy tomorrow for what it is, which will be just a family day before I go. Yay. Anyway, there was one other thing I wanted to acknowledge last weekend, or was it? Or the weekend before? Oh, time's gone so quick. I went down to Gore, which is south of the South Island, to Deep South Fibre Festival, it was called. And they had a Traders Day and a knitting retreat. And it was their first year. And I went along as a trader, and I loved it, because I just love that part of the country. My husband came along with me, and he helped me on Traders Day. He didn't actually serve customers, but he did help with the FPOS machine. And what was really neat about that was he actually got a bit of an insight into my world, because I'm sure he really doesn't know what goes on in my knitting world. And he spent a day with me, and it was really good. I spend a lot of time in his world, which is running and the running community. So I just loved having him with me down there. And just a shout out to everyone that come and said hello. I met lots of new people. I met traders. We had dinner with a few traders that I got to meet. And it was just an awesome weekend. So hello to everybody down south that I spent the day with and that come and said hello. Also, there is another knitting retreat, and I should have downloaded the paperwork, but I haven't. It may actually be this weekend, but it may be next weekend, and it's the Wai Knit retreat in Masterton. So I think towards the end, I will go and print that off, and I will tell you the details. If not, I'll definitely leave the details in my show notes. And I just wanted to give a shout out to James, who's in that area, who opened his knit store, his yarn store, Joy of Yarn, a couple of weeks ago. And I'll leave the details for that store. So if you're in that Wairarapa area, that Masterton sort of area, go and say hello to James. I will leave the details for that. And I'm nearly 8 minutes in, and all I've talked about is admin things. So I'm going to start talking about my knitting. I will start off with what I'm wearing. I showed you this in my last podcast. Here I am fumbling for. So this is from the Shetland Trader book that I bought a few years ago. And it's from Gudrun Johnston. And I haven't marked the page, so just bear with me. It's called Willapund. That's it there. It's a vest. You can buy this, there's a picture of it there in a different colourway. And there's another picture in some blues and greys. You can buy this pattern on Ravelry on its own. You don't have to buy the whole book. It's available on Ravelry, and I will leave the link below. Now, Shetland Trader, so Gudrun Johnston uses a lot of traditional Shetland wool. I stock here Jamieson Smith, which is a traditional fingering weight Shetland yarn. I cannot take the credit for this wee masterpiece. I had a friend offer to knit it for me. It's been on my radar for a long time to knit, and she wanted to try Jamieson Smith. She also, this was her first steek project. So it is steeked. You knit from the bottom up, and then you create a steeking bridge for the armholes, knit up, and then you chop, steek it, and it's finished off with I-cord. I will do one of those awkward wee modelling videos of me wearing it, and I will insert it so you can see it, the full thing. But it is just sits on my hips. It's got a nice generous band, which I like, and I just love it. And I actually love it over these long sleeved, I call them long sleeve t-shirts or base layers. I'm not a real shirt or blouse person, although it would look amazing over a white linen shirt or something. But I really love it. I'll get the yarn. I'll show you the colours I used. Well, I didn't use them. I dropped one. It's rolled away. I'm just going to get it. Okay, so I chose the 4 colours, and Gail knitted it up for me. I will leave these in my show notes, but the main colour is charcoal, which is number 81. Then the sand colour is actually called sand, and it's FC45. The white I used is the optic white. So there are 2 whites. There's an optic white, and the other one is 1A, which is a bit more of a natural white, I suppose I'd say. And salmon, no, coral. Coral is the other colour that I used. What was it? Bear with me. I got the wrong colour. The salmon colour is called salmon, and it's 9144. But they're the 4 colours together. And they're just perfect. I just love it. Thank you very much to Gail for doing it for me, because I really don't know that I would have got around to it. Like I said, she wanted to use Jamieson Smith, and she wanted to do a steeking project, and she said that it was a very well written project and that the instructions were really thorough. And I think she YouTubed a couple of techniques, but she's done an amazing job. It's just beautiful. I just love it. And it's warm, which today is, I need it. I think it's going to only get into about 12 degrees today, and it's actually really grey. It's a gloomy old day. So that's what I'm wearing. The Willapund vest by Gudrun Johnston. Johnston? No, Johnston. It does have a T in it. So that's what I'm wearing. I will talk to you about a couple of FOs. The first one I want to talk about is the Shetland Wool Week beanie. Every year, Shetland Wool Week bring out a new design. You can download this pattern from the Shetland Wool Week website, and it costs £1. When I bought it, that equated to $2.11 New Zealand dollars. So really, really cheap. These patterns used to be free. They now charge £1, and I think that goes back into the event that they organise. I think it goes, it goes back into they have a big wool week once a year, and it goes back to that. I think I'm saying that right. There is always a story behind who designs it, and this one was designed by a lady who is a crofter and has her own sheep, and she's designed this with a ram pattern, and you can see here it's like the rams, do you call them horns? But that's what she's taken the inspiration from her farm and her sheep. They always have an amazing crown on them. It's a real highlight. This, I'm not going to try it on because my hair, I'll just end up with really bad hat hair, but this fits me perfect. So there's a small, a medium and a large, but the stitch count is exactly the same for all 3 sizes. What changes is your needle size. So for a small, I think it was a 2.5, for a medium, a 3.75, and a large, sorry, 2.5, 2.75 and a 3 for the large. So she does recommend that you do a gauge swatch to determine your gauge, so then you know what size to knit. I didn't swatch. I just really can't see the point in swatching for a beanie, because the swatch would be half the beanie. So my head measurements were a medium, and I thought I'm just going to go for it, and it's perfect. Yeah, you can see it's not too big, it's not too small, it covers my ears and it looks fabulous. And yeah, I don't know what else to say about it. I just love it. I have put some kits together for this. What happens with this, it's really quite frustrating, because I contacted Jamieson and Smith and I said, do you know the colours? I'm due to do an order and I'd really like the colours in stock. And they informed me that they only find out the day that the pattern gets released as well. So they don't get a heads up on what colours are being used. So most years I've had to improvise. In this case, I had 3 out of the 4 colours. So I have just improvised on the 4th colour. So the colours in this kit I've done are exact, except for this bright. They used an orange, a bright orange, and I didn't have an orange, so I've used this, I think it's called bright red, but I'm happy with it. So you'll see on here, I'll show you the picture of the original one. Oh, that's a picture of the original one there, and you'll see that their orange is really quite a light bright orange, where mine's more of a red orange. If you use a bit of Jamieson and Smith, you for sure have probably got 4 colours in your stash that you could whip this pattern up with. Any 4 colour combinations would work. Like I said, on my website, it's under Shetland Wool Week 2024. There are 2 colourways. This is colourway 2, and I only have 1 left. And I'm going to show you. So that's colourway 2 there, which I've got there. So that's the only one left. But what I'm going to do, once I sell out of this, the only colour that I've sold out of is the really dark blue. It's the dark navy. But I've got another really dark blue and even a black, which would also be perfect. So once I sell this one, I will put some more kits on my website, but the dark colour will be a different colour, but you will really get the same effect. But also feel free to just jump on and create your own kit. The other colourway, which is colourway 1, is this kit here, and I just love it, and I really encourage you to go on and look at the pattern. So the yarn was in, might have been Jamieson's of Shetland or Spindrift, I'm not sure, but what I've done is I've colour matched those colours with what I have in Jamieson and Smith, and this light mauve colour is the main colour, and then you've got you've got charcoal, which is here, you've got a dark and a light purple, but the pop of colour is this green. And it looks really, really good in the images that I've seen on the website. So go and have a look. I do have about 4 of these kits left, and I've reduced the price. So it's actually, I think, 10% cheaper to buy it as a kit than it is to buy individual balls. So that's colourway 1, and this one was colourway 2. And if you have not done colour work like this before, I really, really encourage you to give it a go, because it's not as hard as it looks. And I look at these and I think, oh, it's a masterpiece. Like, how could you even create that? But it's not that hard. You are only ever using 2 colours at one time. So you use that technique. It's called stranded colour work. So yeah, you're just using the 2 colours. What I did do, and I don't know if it's recommended, the thought of weaving in all the ends just did not appeal to me. So as I joined the new colours, I actually carried them all the way up. So I didn't have many ends to sew in at the end. Now, if you look really, really closely, there is a few blips where I didn't pull the colour dark enough as I was wrapping it around the yarns that I was carrying. So there's a seam down here. It's probably 90% good and maybe 10% imperfect, but you would have to look really, really closely to see that imperfection. So it is, I recommend it, just carry all those colours as you go. Just wind whatever colour you're working with next around them and give it a good old tug. And you know, you end up with a bit of a jumbled mess, but they're easy enough. What I do, the two colours that I'm not using, I put a big pin through them. It's like a big stitch holder that I've got, like a giant size safety pin, and I just put that through the colours that I'm not using to keep them together, and I'm working with two colours. So give it a go. It's not that difficult. The other thing I did, which I'll tell you, so you start at the bottom here at the ribbing, and I started with I use they're called shorties in the Chalgu set, and they're 3-inch tips, and I started off with a 20 centimeter cable, so it gave me about a 35 centimeter circumference to cast on. And I did the ribbing, and then you do an increase round, and after the increase round I changed to the 35 centimeter cable. So I was knitting with a circumference of, you know, that size, 35 foot, with about 45 centimeter circumference. And then when I got up to the top, I had to start decreasing for the crown. That's when I changed to DPNs. Now, if you love working with DPNs, you would probably do this whole beanie in DPNs. I don't love them. I love working in small circumference with my shorties. And then I didn't have a choice, really. You have to either do magic loop or DPNs to do your decreasing for the crown. But what I did, I'll pop that away. I didn't have the DPNs. I don't have a lot of DPNs because I don't use them. But I shouted myself to this kit. Now, this cost $125, but it's forever in my kit now, and I will have it forever. But that's the Chalgu DPN kit, and it starts at a 2, 2.25, 2.5, 2.75, 3, and a 3.25, and you get 5 of each. You can buy these all individual, and it probably works out about the same price, but you don't get the case. So I kind of figured for the extra few dollars that you pay in, it's nice to have them all in a compact case. But of course, you've probably got DPNs at home, I'm sure, in the size that you need. That kit also comes in, that's the stainless steel, and that's the bamboo kit. The bamboo ones are a little bit cheaper because they only have 5, not 6. There's one size missing. But anyway, that's how I did it. I should show you my shorties. I'm sure I have shown them to you before. This is the Chalgu Shorties kit. And that's what you've got there. You've got all your little tips. You've got your 2-inch and your 3-inch. And then you've got a couple of mini cables that go with these. I use these for socks as well. So they're just called shorties on the website. And they fit into here beautifully. And I want to show you this because later on I'm going to show you what I'm going to take away with me. That's always the biggest decision for me when I travel is not packing my suitcase, it's packing my knitting bag. So that's my first FO, which is my Shetland Wool Week beanie. Have a coffee. What's my next FO is this one. I'm going to just pause and move around so I can bring her forward a bit more. Okay, just one more thing about Shetland Wool Week. When I went down to Gore last weekend, I made up some kits for that beanie, and I have a couple left, and I'm going to list them as Shetland Wool Week. It'll be under the Shetland Wool Week. And then there's colourway 1, colourway 2. And I'm going to call these mystery colourways. So if you trust me to pick your colours for you, I have a couple of these left. And with them, there is the 2 dark colours, which is your main colour, and then 4 contrasting colours. And I have put some together that I think would work beautifully. And I will list them as mystery kits. So that's trust in me. And like I said, that works out about 10% discount. But also feel free to make up your own. There's 72 colours there to choose from. So I have finished this lovely jersey. I'm so, so happy with it. So this is the Alden by Jen Steingass, or Jenny Steingass. There's the pattern there. So this is done in a finger in weight yarn. It's done top down in the round yoke construction. The yarn I used, I don't know where you get it from anymore. I bought it at a show, and it's indie dyed yarn, and it's probably sort of a one of a kind. The dyer was called the Natural Dyer, and she dyes with botanicals and plant-based type of dyes. So that's the main colour there, and I don't even know the name of the colour. I bought 3 skeins which had 400 metres each in them, and I do have this much left, and I haven't weighed it, but I'm guessing there's probably a good half, probably 25 grams left. So I did the size 4. I haven't got how many centimetres that is. And so definitely if you're sort of halfway in the sizing scale, I think you would get it done out of 300 gram 400 metre skeins. My contrast in colour is also indie dyed, and this was a one of a kind, and this was dyed by James, and he's from Joy of Knitting up at Masterton. And I bought this in Dunedin at the Unwind Yarn Festival, and like I said, it was a one of a kind. And in the skein, it just looked like a multicoloured skein, and I just thought it was such a beautiful match. When I did finally put the 2 colours together, I'm super, super happy with it. You can spend a lot of money on Spin Cycle and get a similar effect. Not taking anything away from Spin Cycle. If you've got some, use it because it's beautiful. But this was 100 gram, 400 metres. I don't know how much I paid. I just paid, it wasn't overly expensive. It was what you would expect to pay for a skein of indie dyed yarn. So that's the yarn that I've used. So any 4-ply yarn with a contrasting colour, you could even use your main colour, but the contrasting colour, like what Jen's done here, can just be a solid colour. It could be a solid white or a solid blue, or it doesn't have to be variegated like that. So lots and lots of options. I will talk to you about a couple of techniques that I did. So you start at the collar, you cast on, and you work a series of short rows at the back. I used German short rows, which I always use. They're sort of just seamless and they work really well. There was a new technique that I hadn't used before, and I had to look up the tutorial, but Jen leaves the link to the tutorial in the pattern, and it was called an invisible increase lift. So the increases that you're doing as you're working around were an invisible increase lift. I can't even remember how I did them, but I looked at the tutorial and they were easy, and you really can't see them. They've blended in beautifully, those increases. So I do recommend that you look at the tutorial. So yeah, I mean, and just as normal, as always, when you're doing stranded colour work, the contrast colour I hold in my left hand and my main colour in the right hand. So that's like your dominant colour and your non-dominant colour. I'm not an expert, but I always hold the contrast colour in my left hand. Just looking at my notes to see what else I can tell you. With the top, once again, I started with a 40 centimetre circumference. I used my 10 centimetre tips, and then as I worked down the yoke and I was increasing, I went to, I think it was a 55 centimetre cable, all the way down to when I divided for the sleeves. So, yeah. I did use German twisted cast on for the collar, and it's just got this little round, so it rolled over neckline, and then a bit of ribbon before you start the increasing and the colour work. What I did though, which was different, I did a different bind off. So I had heard Noelle from Knits and Pieces often talk about this alternating tubular bind off, and I've done tubular bind offs before, and you need a long, you know, like a 3 metre tail of yarn, and it's a sewn off bind off, and it looks really, really good, but I find it really quite tedious. I don't enjoy doing those bind offs. So I did look up the link for this bind off, and so it gives you the same effect as a tubular bind off, but you do it with a DPN, because you're needing to wrap the yarn around. So basically it's a knitted bind off instead of a sewn bind off, but it gives you the same sort of rolled over effect that a tubular bind off gives you. Now, and it's stretchy. I think it'll be really good for socks as well. I will take it off in a minute and give you a close-up look at it, but I'm going to leave you the link. So it's called Alternating Cable Bind Off 1 by 1, and it's by Cheryl Toy. That is the one I followed on YouTube. And I'm really, really happy with it, and I am going to make a note of that in my knitting journal, and it's a bind off that I will definitely use again. Definitely. It's really good. I really encourage you to go and have a look at it. And if you've got any sort of sweater that's done in rib and you need a nice bind off, I recommend that. Love the sleeves. Love, love, love. I have wet blocked it, and it just come up beautifully, but the sleeves just dried naturally. I didn't have them pinned out, or I didn't have anything in them. I will also try this on, and I will insert a picture of me wearing it. So it fits beautifully. I'm really, really happy with it. Increase rounds. Yeah, that's all the notes. That's all the notes I've got written about it. But yeah, it's just lovely. Really encourage, if you haven't done, this would be a really good project if it's your first time to colour work as well, because once again you're only using 2 colours. The pattern's really well written, the graphs are clear, and that's about all I've got to say about that one. I will try it on, and I'm going to insert a wee video of me wearing it right now. Okay, so let's get into some of my whips. Now, I'm quite excited to talk about this one, because in my last podcast, I told you about the train wreck that I had knitting Blueberry Vodka Lemonade. It's the pattern here. It's by Thea Colman, and I knitted this and it didn't fit. It was too big. There was just so much wrong with it that I still haven't done anything with it, and I think I will gift it to a friend who it will fit better than it fits me. But I wasn't deterred. I really want this in my wardrobe, so I chose another colour, and the colour I'm using is Rocky Road. It is 100% merino, New Zealand merino, and this particular colour, oh, it's showing up beautifully. It's awesome. So it's a dark charcoal with just a few flashes of blues and pinks, aqua, but it is quite a dark, moody sort of colour, as you can see here. So that the colour's Rocky Road. I swatched this time and I actually went down a needle size to get gauge, and I also knitted a size smaller than I did originally. I re-looked at my measurements. I think as knitters we can become a bit, I know me personally as a knitter can become a bit complacent when it comes to things like gauge and sizing. You kind of think, oh, I know what I'm doing. I've done this before. I've done a raglan sweater before. No worries. So it was a really good lesson for me to step back and actually plan out my knitting better, which is what I used to always do. And I have just got a bit lazy. So with this one, I did plan. I did do my measurements and my swatch. And I'll talk about swatching because I have another garment that I swatched for that I want to show you. But I wanted this, so I straight away cast on a new one after I spoke to you last time, or I may have just cast it on. I don't think I had. I cast it on, and I've really done a push to get to this stage where I've divided for the sleeves, because I want to take this away with me, and I wanted it to get to a stage where the body's really easy. It's just round and round stocking stitch with a little feature down each side. So you can see on the raglan here, it's not showing up that well, but there's this beautiful eyelet feature going on down the raglan seam on the back and the front, and that moss stitch pattern continues all the way down both sides, and it just looks beautiful. But it's really easy to, I don't need to follow a pattern to do it. It's really quite easy. So this is going to be some of my travel knitting that I'm going to take away with me. I have just put it on cords. That's just so as I could put on my mannequin to show you. But this is all ready to get packed in my carry-on to take away with me. So Blueberry Vodka by Thea Colman. I really encourage you to jump online and have a look at it if you think this is your kind of style. It's got a wide boat neck, which I love. I love the bracelet length sleeves, sort of a 3/4 sleeve, and they're a little bit ballooned. Of course, you could do a full length sleeve if you wanted to. And I am also going to do a little bit cropped to wear with skirts and dresses, but of course you could alter the length. I will get this 3 skeins, which is nearly 1,200 meters. If you're doing a larger size or you're doing longer length or longer sleeves, you may need 4, but I think you'd probably get it done out of 3. So that is Rocky Road if you want to do the colour I'm doing. But the other 2 colours I've got in that yarn, which I want to show you because they're both my favourite colours. They're colours that are in my sort of favourite palette. This one's called Agapanthus, which is like a real denim blue jeans blue. And this one is called Black Beach, which is greys. It's quite a moody sort of colour as well, but just a nice shift of colour like this, just to give it, it's not grey, it's got a lot more detail in it. So yeah, so that's the whip. I'm really happy that I cast it back on. It's hard to do that, you know, if you've knitted something and it hasn't worked out. It's a lot easier to just frog the whole thing and flag it. But I did really want it, and I thought, no, this is, I had to do it now. So I'm really happy that I did do that, and I encourage you to do it. We don't always get it right the first time. It's okay. It's okay to make mistakes and do a take 2. So that's where I'm at, and I don't know how much of it I'll get done while I'm away, but I will take my small circulars to work on the sleeves in case I do get the body done. So that's part of my travel knitting that I'm going to take away with me. And I'm just going to check my notes. I don't think... Bear with me. Once again, I did German short rows, not wrap and turns, as the pattern suggests. And once again, I used 10 centimetre tips. I started with a 35 centimetre cable for the neckline, and then as I worked down with the increases, I changed to a 55 centimetre cable, and that's what I've used all the way down to divide in for the sleeves. That's the one thing I wanted to tell you. So with this eyelet pattern here, it's just a series of yarn overs to create those eyelets. But in the pattern, she does write a little paragraph suggesting to you to be careful of your tension. So, and the reason I say that is because if you do a yarn over, so on one side, you'll go in from a purl yarn over knit. So there's not as much yarn being used for that yarn over compared to the other side when you're going from a knit to a knit. So knit yarn over knit uses less wool than if you go in from a purl, you've got to wrap it around to do your knit. So you need to be careful here because one side of the eyelets may be looser or a larger eyelet than the other side. I hope that makes sense, but if you read the pattern, you'll know what I'm talking about. Yeah, so one of them you're going from a purl to a knit, and the other one you're going from a knit to a knit. So it changes the size of your eyelet. So I'm sure that explanation wasn't clear, but if you're doing the pattern, you will read that part and sort of think, oh yeah, I remember Lisa talking about that, so I'll take notice of it. And I think that's all. Look, it's just a really beautiful pattern. I did take some kits away with me when I was down south, and I wanted to just talk about this quickly. I have got 2 other whips, but I thought I would just talk about what's involved in transitioning with your knitting. Now, the reason I say this, because I met a lot of knitters that said, oh, I love that pattern, and I took a couple of other samples as well, and they said, oh, you know, that's really nice, what's the pattern? But there's a lot of knitters that are still knitting in the flat, and they've never done a top down in the round. And I understand that there, for a lot of people, is a barrier there. How do you go from being the knitter which is where I was, say, 6 or 7 years ago, where I had straight needles, I'd never knitted in the rounds. So I thought about it, and I thought, well, how do you explain that to somebody? So I thought because I know that there's probably a lot of you that are knitting like I do, but you've got friends that haven't made that change to knitting top downs in the rounds, and they're keen to, or they're interested, but how do you convince them? So for me, I use the analogy of, so as crafters, we do more than just knit. And I thought it's almost like if you say you're a sewer and you've got a sewing machine, but you want to start doing patchwork. Well, there's a little bit of an investment because all of a sudden you need a cutting mat, or you need a cutter, and you need different tools to expand on that craft. So I thought it's like knitting. There is I would say an outlay of probably $300. So if you've got a friend that says, okay, I want to do a top down in the round, I want to do that Jen Steingass Alden or this blueberry vodka, where do I start? So what I would say for most, you probably, and I'm talking here in New Zealand dollars and my online store, probably $300 to buy a chalgoo set of needles, tips and cables, and maybe a couple of shorties to do the sleeves, there is an initial outlay, and there's no disguising that. That is what it is. There is an outlay. But what I will say is that it's worth it, because when I started knitting top down in the rounds, I was just going to different yarn stores and I bought a bit of Knit Pro and a bit of Likey, as you say it. I bought a bit of chalgoo, and I ended up with bits of everything and nothing worked together. And I probably spent a lot more money transitioning than what I would have if somebody had said to me, no, Lisa, you only need, where's my set? You only need the small set. You don't even need the large set. The small set of chalgoo, which is about $220, and maybe 1 or 2 30-centimetre fixed ones to do your sleeves if you don't like to do a magic loop. I wish somebody had said to me, go and spend $300 and set yourself up to transition in from knitting, like what I sort of call the knitting that our grandparents taught us, into doing this, what I call exciting knitting. Like, it's just so exciting. We have access to all these patterns and techniques. I wish somebody had said to me, go and spend $300 and set yourself up with that kit and you're good to go, rather than going out there and buying bits and pieces, only to then go and buy a set anyway. So I hope that makes sense, because I'm pretty sure I come across that a lot at that trade show. A lot of knitters that know how to knit and are very good, accomplished knitters, but have never knitted in the rounds top down, and they wanted to. So I encourage you to talk to your friends and say, hey, you can do this, but this is probably what it will involve. Okay, that's my rant on that subject. So my next whip is kind of a whip, but I'm going to pause because I'm going to rustle plastic, and that never sounds good. My camera's moved. Okay, what actually happened is I tripped on it, so I hope I'm still I hope it's still straight. So this next whip, I've made a start on, and I will not take it away with me, I've decided. So you won't see any progress over the next 5 weeks with this, but I needed to talk about it. So it's the Riptide slipover, and it's by JST, which is Jennifer Shields Toland, JST Knitwear Design. Now, I've talked about this. It is a beautiful vest or slipover. It has a split hem. It's got a beautiful feature down both sides. It's done in DK, and I saw Noelle and Kelly talk about it on their podcast, and they've both done one. They've probably done 2 by now. So I cast it on, and you start at the back and you work down, and then you pick up for the front, and then you join in the rounds. So I only got this far. I've literally just started the back, and you can see that pattern. So this is a DK yarn that I had in my stash that an indie dyer dyed for me a few years ago. It's a DK 100% merino, but the yarn I would recommend for this, if you want to do it and you haven't got yarn for it, is this range here, the Knit by Numbers, John Arbon Textiles DK. There's about 40 colours to choose from, but it's a DK, and it's got a round neck, which didn't bother me. I prefer a V-neck, but I was going to do it anyway. But then I heard through the grapevine that she was actually, Jennifer was actually rewriting this pattern to do a V-neck version. So that excited me. So what I did is I put this on pause, and I kind of thought, well, I've just done a bit of the back. I'm pretty sure this pattern for the back isn't going to change. The changes that she's made are going to be on the front. So I put this on pause and thought, I'm not doing any more until she launches the V-neck pattern, and hopefully I can proceed and I won't have to make any changes for what I've done so far. And a couple of people come back that had test knitted the V-neck version, and they said to me, yes, you're right, the back doesn't change, so put it on hold, which I'm so glad I did. Now, since then, this pattern in the V-neck has been launched, and it's available on Ravelry, and it's called the Riptide Slipover. But why I wanted to give it a mention is I think Jennifer has been really, really generous, because if you've already bought this and it's in your Ravelry, she's dropped in the update for the V-neck version, so you don't have to pay for another pattern. Now, I thought for sure it was going to be another pattern that I was going to have to pay for. So when the update went into Ravelry, I was so impressed. I thought that was just so super generous. So thank you, Jennifer. And I know that there's quite a few of my viewers here in Christchurch that have this pattern. And I know a couple that have actually knitted the round neck version. So I'm pretty sure that they'll be doing what I'm doing and going to cast on the V-neck version. So that is the Riptide Slipover. So if you haven't purchased it and you want to, you will get both versions. And I looked at, I think it's about a 24, maybe even a 30-page pattern now. So it's a lot of pattern for your dollar. That sounds like a real sales pitch, doesn't it? And I don't mean it to, but I'm really impressed, and I wanted to give a shout out because I think it's super generous, because quite often when designers alter a pattern and they bring out another version of it, it's a whole new pattern that you have to pay for. So yay, thumbs up to Jen, thank you very much. So that's all I'll say about this, because I've made no progress since last time, and it will go back into my basket to be a project that I'll work on when I get home. It's certainly not by any means going into the naughty corner. I'm loving it, but I don't want to travel with it. It's just not travel knitting. And also, I will talk about my travel knitting. I'm pretty sure that I'm going to get inspired to maybe cast on something while I'm away. How can I not? I'm going to Knit City. Anyway, so that's that. I have another whip that I want to talk about. Have I got it? Yes, it's not in plastic. Bear with. Okay, so this is my last whip, and loving it. So in my last podcast, I talked about First Frost by Amikihia Knits, and Elizabeth is the designer of this pattern. Elizabeth is local to me here in Christchurch, so I love supporting a local designer. She's got about 30 patterns to her name. So anyway, I talked about this pattern. It had just been finished, but then there was a delay in it actually loading up onto Ravelry, and I had a few people say, where is it? It's not there. So there are a couple of things that Elizabeth wasn't 100% happy with, so there was a delay because she tweaked a few things. So, but this pattern is now on Ravelry, and I have the updated version, so I made a start on it. And so first of all, I'll tell you about it. It is a cardigan. It has, I'll show you this picture. It has this beautiful lace feature that runs all the way down the back, and then part of that pattern is replicated all around the band. And then I'll show you this picture. Both sides of the cardigan, the same pattern is also replicated there. So there's a lot of lace work, but it's only over a 22 stitch repeat, and it's easy. It's just a series of knit two togethers and yarn overs and SSKs. It's not an intimidating lace pattern at all. The rest of it's just stockinette stitch. So I made a start, and so what I will show you where I started, and then I'll tell you about it. So this is the back. I've started at the top. There's 2 pins there. That's where I'm going to pick up to work down the front. So I've done the back. I have done a series of increases for the underarm, and now it has been put on hold, And where I'm up to now is that I have to pick up my left and my right, one at a time, but I'll pick up these sleeves to knit the front. So I'm quite excited about that. I got to this point last night. It's on my stitch on hold cords, so if you haven't got these yet, you have to have them. They're the best thing ever. It is on hold while I start the front. And you can see the lace panel here. Can you? You can, but it's not, I don't know how to show you, so it's going to be, that's a bit better. Okay. So this pattern calls for a 22 stitch gauge. So it's quite flexible. You could use a heavy fingering weight or 4-ply, but you could also, I know that Elizabeth did one in a DK. So it's quite flexible, as long as you get gauge of the 22 stitches per 4-inch. I'm using Yarnadelic, which is 5-ply or sports weight, and it's perfect. And when I showed this to Elizabeth, she agreed. She said that yarn is perfect for this pattern. So sort of heavy fingering or a light DK, which is a sports weight. This colour I'm using, I only have a few skeins left, was a limited edition, so it won't be repeated, and it's called We Love You, and it's this beautiful green. And I've not got anything in my wardrobe in green, but I was drawn to this colour, so that's what I'm doing. But I want to talk to you about my swatch. So I knitted up a swatch, and I have wet blocked it. And I had a customer here the other day, and she said, oh yeah, I swatch, but what do you mean wet blocking? And I know, so I thought I'll just touch on it quickly for those. I know that most of you, my viewers, are all over this, but I thought I know I've got a lot of newer viewers that are getting back into knitting, so I thought I should just touch on it. So there is my swatch. Yeah. So I knitted it, I soaked it for a couple of hours in hot water, as hot as my tap will get it. And my hot water is very hot in my laundry, to the point that I have to actually use a wooden spoon to submerge it because it's too hot for my hands. Hot water doesn't shrink wool. It's when you start agitating in hot water that it can felt and shrink. But if all you're doing is submerging it, letting the yarn soak up that water and relax all those fibres, walk away, go back 2 or 3 hours later when the water's cooled down, that's all you have to do. Take out all the excess water, so I just roll it up in a towel. Take out the excess water and lay it flat. I use these rubber tiles that you can get in Kmart or any $2 bargain shop. These tiles are what I use to pin out all my finished projects that I have wet blocked. So I did that. I pinned it out with these blocking pins, and I put it down in front of my fire, and it dried overnight. These are blocking pins, in case you don't know. They come in a pack of 20. I've had these for 6 or 7 years. They last forever, and they're as good as they were the day I bought them. They come in this wee box, and they're available on my website, and they're about $40. But that's what I mean when I say wet block, lay it out, pin it out with blocking pins. So there's my swatch. I counted about 3 times, and I think I was like 21 and a half. And I thought, for me, that's 22. I was spot on. This is what I use to count out my stitches. So, how did I had that laid on there like that? This is the best swatch ruler that I've ever used. So you can lay it on like that, and you've got your 4 inches marked out, and then you just get a pin and you count 1, 2, 3, 4, and count how many stitches sit in that 4 inches, and that is your gauge. These come out, these are made by Chalgu, and they have lots of references there, all of the conversions for your needles and your crochet hooks. your needle gauge on the side, but that's what I use to count out my stitches. And they're the blocking pins that I use. That's it. So I have been a good girl and I have swatched, and I just wanted to mention that quickly because I know that some of you don't understand what we mean when we say wet block things. So where am I up to? I have cast it on. I got gauge. I'm doing the size 3. I sort of sat between a size 3 and a size 4. But I kind of figured with the style, I didn't want it dropping off my shoulders. I don't want this to be oversized because I think the shoulders would drop, because it's got quite a wide sort of neckline. So that's why I've gone the size smaller. I haven't really gone a size smaller, but I sort of sat in the middle of the two sizes. So I've gone for the size 3. I'm using Yarnadelic. I'm using the recommended needle size. So this body, the main body of the knitting is done on a 4mm needle, and I'm using an 80 centimeter cable, and that is all I should need for the whole body of this until I get to the bands, where I go down to a 3.75, and I will use the 30 centimeter circumference needles for my sleeves. I used a German twisted cast on for my cast on. It does say cable, but I often swap that out for the German twisted because it's a cast on that I like. And she does use German short rows. Yay! Quite often I have to swap those out, but she has actually, when I say she, Elizabeth has used German short rows. Now, what I wanted to say about this, and this is once again being taught how to knit when we're young, and now we've fast forward all these years and there's new techniques and there's new way of doing things. When I got back into knitting, and I've told this story before, I did a shawl and I was in a knit group, and I said to one of the ladies, how come your eyelets look so perfect and my eyelets don't look very good? I was doing yarn over knit 2 together to create these eyelets. And she said to me, how are you doing your yarn over? And I said, well, the way I was taught, I wrap the yarn around. And she said, no, don't. She said, just bring it to the front and then knit. So it's only going half. And I went, oh my God. So all these years I've been doing yarn overs wrong. And it was like a light bulb moment. And I sort of thought that's how much things have changed. But the result was amazing. Like, I had not very nice eyelets to then creating perfect eyelets. So when I got to doing this pattern and I got to doing this lace work, this first section is SSK, which is slip slip knit, and SSP, which is slip slip purl. And I did my slip slip knit, and I thought, yeah, that's good. And there's that's my first panel of lace work there. But then I got to this second panel and it was an SSP, which is slip slip purl, and I've never done that before. I've never done an SSP. So I googled it, I YouTubed it, and I'll leave the link below. The YouTube, I think it was a Pearl Soho YouTube, that said to do an SSP, slip slip purl, you slip one purl-wise, then you slip one knit-wise, then you put them back, and then you purl through the back, and that's how you do an SSP. And I thought, oh, that's good, never done that. But then the tutorial went on to show you an SSK, which is a slip slip knit. So I continued to watch it and went, oh my God, I've been doing my slip slip knits wrong all this time. So I was always told when you you always slip purl-wise unless it says otherwise. So when I did my slip slip knit, I would slip those 2 stitches purl-wise and then I'd knit through the back. So in the tutorial, you slip those 2 stitches knit-wise put them back and then knit through the back. I thought, oh, I'm going to change how I do them. I've been doing them wrong. So that is my first bit of lace work there. And that's with the slip knits, doing it my old style. And then come down to here where I changed to doing the slip knits how the tutorial said, and it's really different. Now I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to show you here. Put my bag. So that first lot, the lace works quite together, but then when you go down here where I changed, the lace works quite different. It's lacier. I was like, oh my God. But I thought, do I rip it back? Because that is how it should be, and that's how I like it. And this bit is not right. But then I thought, well, do you know what? This is the back collar. My hair's going to cover it. And I didn't rip it out. I don't feel like I need to rip it out. But it's really different. And the only difference is I was slipping purl-wise. I wasn't slipping knit-wise. It's made a really big difference. So I wanted to share that with you, because if you're doing yarn overs and slip knits and slip pearls, and you're doing them how you've always done them, because that's how our aunts or our nanas or our mothers taught us to do, I encourage you to go onto YouTube and just look at a couple of tutorials, because things have changed and the difference is quite dramatic, especially when you're doing lace work. I'm chuffed. I'm actually really pleased with myself that I went through that exercise, but also really pleased with myself that just in this one little piece I can really see the difference. So that's my lesson. I don't give many lessons because I am not a knitting teacher. I am not very good at doing tutorials or teaching, but what I try to do is share with you my learnings, not from a teacher's point of view, but from a knitter's point of view. So that's probably all I've got to talk about with this whip. I want to take it away with me. This will definitely be my aeroplane and airport knitting, but I'm really enjoying this. And I think tonight and tomorrow, being Mother's Day, I'm going to have a cruisy day. I do want to pick up the right front, and I do want to start working down. And I know that we're going to have nights in our Airbnbs where we will just sit up and, have dinner and sit and knit for a couple of hours before bedtime. So I do want to take this with me. So I'll talk about my travel knitting. But the other part of me is saying, don't take it, because you are going to spend 4 days at Knit City and you are going to be so overwhelmed with patterns and yarn that you're going to want to go away and cast on something else. And then I'll be carrying this around with me for 4 weeks and not have worked on it. So that's my dilemma, is do I take this with me because this is really what I want to work on, or do I just say, no, Lisa, leave it at home and just go? To be quite honest, I think when I hit Knit City, I'm going to be like a child in a candy store. I'm going to just be like, wow, I think it's going to be bigger, way bigger than anything we've ever had here in New Zealand. So I am going to pick up this tonight and tomorrow, and I'm going to start knitting down, and then I'll see how I feel about it, whether I want to pack it and take it with me or not. But look, I'm really enjoying it. I'm loving the lace work. I'm loving the fact that I have revisited some of my techniques and improved them. I want to thank Elizabeth for this pattern. I'm really excited about getting it done. And the other thing, if you follow me on Facebook or Instagram, you'll see I cast this on in the evening, and that night we had a -6 degrees. So it was the coldest day we've had here for like 20 years. And we had a really good frost. And I just thought, how amazing and appropriate is that I cast on this pattern that's called First Frost on the night that we actually got this massive frost. It was so cold. But that's okay. Just got up and turned the fire on. It's good. So thank you, Elizabeth, for that. I'm really enjoying it. I really recommend Yarnadelic for this pattern. I know quite a few of my viewers have probably got some of this in their stash. So if you have, I would bust it out for that pattern. If not, I don't know. There's about 18 colours to choose from. That is, that's that. I swatched for it and just loving it. So that's my only other whip. I just had an earbud fall out. I better pause it. I'm not sure if it affects the sound or not. I'll just share with you a bit of my dilemma about travel knitting. So this is, my plan was to take this with me and just work on the body. And the reason I say that is because I think that if I'm on a plane or in transit for a ridiculous 18 or 20 hours, I'll get bored if I'm just knitting a sock. And I know my friend's just taken a sock, but I thought, sitting there going round, knitting a sock, it was going to bore me. But I'm also aware that I can't take anything big or anything I need to use my iPad or, you know, that's just not practical. So anyway, I went through some of my smaller whips thinking, should I take them? Should I not take them? So I've got these socks on the needles. It's just magic loop. It's self-striping yarn. They're beautiful and I would love to knit on them. But I think I would get bored. So I'm not sure whether I'm going to take that. The other project that jumped out at me that I haven't worked on this for about a year. About a year ago, one of my viewers introduced me to the Musselburgh hat. And I know that this hat has been knitted so many thousands of times. It's a really, really popular pattern. And I had this beautiful yarn that I think I got gifted in a yarn swap. It's it here. I've got it on. I bought this. It's really dinky, isn't it? I know they're around a lot. You can buy them. I don't even know what they're called. They're just called like a yarn holder. But basically, you can just put that over your wrist and knit away or hang it on something. So I put it on there because I thought, oh, well, that'll be neat. I'll just hang that on my chair while I'm on the plane. But here it is here. I haven't got much done. I've kind of just worked. But with this, I think you do quite a lot and then you fold it back in on itself. I really haven't even read how the full construction of this beanie works. But I thought it's nice, easy, round and round knitting. It's just basically like knitting a really big sock. So that's the other option. I even went as far as putting it on this, thinking, oh, that'll be neat. I'll knit on that. Sit in the airport and knit on that. But I'm not sure. I'm thinking I'm going to take this and that in my travel on. But then the dilemma I've got is, do I transfer my needles to bamboo needles? Because depending on the security alerts in certain airports, you can't take metal. I was actually told recently that Emirates have banned all knitting needles, even bamboo ones. I don't know if that's true, but that's just devastating. Imagine doing like a 12 or an 18-hour flight and transiting and not having your knitting. It'd be terrible. So, yeah, that's the other project. Socks, beanie, and that. I can't take all three. That's just ridiculous. I don't know. And then I get on the plane, I think I'll just read a book and watch a movie. Read a book for a little while and then watch a movie, and I won't do any knitting. Maybe, I don't know. I'm working through my list, and that is on my list to talk about my travel knitting. I'm really getting excited. I haven't allowed myself to get excited, I don't think, because I've been really busy. And it's like, I'll think of that next week. I'll think about that next week. But now that I'm down to 3 days, I'm getting super excited. And I'm just going to put you on pause for a minute. Oh, well, I'm back. All sorts of things just happened then. I had customers come in. I had my husband come home, and it was all going. So this is quite a chatty episode, which I hope you're enjoying. Thank you for sticking with me, and thank you for putting up with all my pauses. On the subject of my year without purchasing patterns. I have bought the odd book, and I think I've only bought one pattern off Ravelry, but my goal is that I have bought so many patterns over the last few years that I wanted to revisit some that are already in my folders. And I've showed this before, but I thought I'd just quickly show you because it's on my list and my radar as a new cast on. And it's the LYS by Andrea Maori. And I just love this little cardigan. It's just a little cropped length. I love the bobbles. I love the lace work, but I really love the tight gauge. It's a 28 stitch gauge, and I think it's a really beautiful structured cardigan. So this has been in my library for a couple of years. And the yarn I want to use is Mondim, which is 100% Portuguese non-superwash yarn. And I have this in my shop, this yarn. But this is one of the yarns that under projects has been used to do this cardigan. And that's the colour that I want to use as well. So I thought I would just show that in case you're out there wanting to do something similar. But Mondim is 400 meters. It's $30, so it's quite economical. Can be used for socks, but I want to use it in that garment. That is certainly not going to happen between now and when I get back. I won't be taking it with me, but it's definitely on my I want to cast on list for sure. And I did just put that on my notes as I wanted to share that with you. So let's get to some of the good stuff. I've got my giveaway to tell you about. Just the other thing I wanted to talk to you in regards to travel knitting, what I am going to take away with me. And I know a friend said to me, "You're not taking that, are you?" And I went, "Well, yeah, I am." Like, I would get separation anxiety if I didn't have it with me. But I am taking my Chalgu set. So I've got all my tips and cables in here, and I've got my shorties in the front there. So that is definitely coming with me, because I just know that if I get inspired to want to cast on something, I need that with me. And that's my Notions pouch. I sell these little pouches. They're $30. They're 100% leather, handmade. But you'll be amazed at what you can fit in here. There are scissors in there, so I won't be taking that as my carry-on. Both these things will go in with my checked-in luggage. But I am taking those. I really couldn't. I don't even think I could go away for the weekend without those. They come with me everywhere. So that's what I'm taking. When I'm away, my daughter is going to be looking after my online store, and orders, I normally get them out very quickly, and quite often you get them overnight if you're within New Zealand, in the main cities. There may be a couple of day delay in your orders, so please allow maybe 3 to 4 days for your orders, because she won't be here doing them every day. She will probably come every second day. But what I thought I would do is to thank you for still supporting my online store in my absence and while I'm away. I'm going to do a gift with purchase for every order over $100. And so this will be free, and it will be included in your order. So I talk a lot about these cords. So in this gift, oh, actually, no, that's the other one. There's no cords. In this gift, there is, I'm going to show them, a set of these needle tip stoppers. And these are so useful. They go on the end of your needle, so you don't lose your stitches. There's a set of 12. So there's a set of 6, and there's a pair of each. So there's 12 of those. And then there's 20 stitch markers, 10 small, 10 large. And they're beautiful little, they're the only stitch markers I use. They're really practical. So that's the free gift, the needle tip stoppers and the stitch markers. For every order over $100, you'll receive that free. And the other thing that I have on my shop, and it's a special, and it's while stocks last, but there are quite a few of them. This is a little very solid reusable container, and in this container is a set of those needle tip stoppers, There's also 20 stitch markers, but there's also 2 meters of this cord, and you get all of that for $15. And I have called that the accessories sample kit. I'll leave the link below, but if you want to order that, it's $15 accessory sample kit. So there's quite a lot in there. So that's the other special I have. So this is actually part of my shop update. And the other thing I just wanted to talk about was John Arbon Textiles. So I keep the Knit by Numbers, the Yarnadelic, the Appledore, and the Exmoor sock. They're changing all of their labels. So, for example, that's the old Yarnadelic label. That's the new Yarnadelic label. So all of their labels are going to look the same. So that's the Knit by Numbers. The colouring, the styles, all the same. It's just the wording's different. So if you are a Yarnadelic user, which I know a lot of you are, you may, don't be alarmed that there's new labels. It's the same yarn, but they're just updating the look of their labels. The giveaway. I have 2 giveaways, and what I'm going to do them through YouTube, because if I do them through Instagram or Facebook, they get bots, they get scammed, and it's a real nuisance. So the first thing I want to say is there will be a keyword in my my YouTube comments. So if you leave me a YouTube comment and the keyword is subscriber, 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 and leave me a message telling me that you are a subscriber. You need to subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on Facebook and Instagram, and leave that keyword in YouTube comments and you will go into the drawer. So the 2 prizes. The first one. So this is to celebrate my 3,000 subscribers. So huge milestone. It's taken me nearly 3 years, and long may it continue. I really hope that by next year we can get to 5,000. I really hope we get a momentum going. But Chalgu have very kindly donated a needle kit. Now this is the set I recommend all the time. So it's the 10 centimetre, and it's the small set that goes from a 2.75 up to a 5, and 3 cords. So I'm not going to take it out because you see mine all the time. I talk about them all the time. The value of this is $220. So thank you, Chalgu, for donating that. They were really keen to help me celebrate. So she said to me, let me know when you're at 5,000 and we'll do another one. So the first prize, you'll get that set of needles, and this is a yarn kit that is enough yarn to do this Alden. The Alden is not the pattern. You have to purchase the pattern yourself, but in saying that, you could use this yarn for any pattern. I've put that there purely as inspiration. So if you get the yarn, it's like, well, what am I going to do with it? That's an idea. This colour isn't available yet on my website. This is yarn that I've dyed myself. It's woolen spun sock yarn, so it's an 80-20 blend, and there's 3 skeins of a main colour and a lighter contrasting colour. So that and that. How amazing is that prize? Like, seriously, if I won this prize, I would be stoked. So that's the first one. And what I'm going to do, it will be a random selection. I've got an app which is a random generator, and that will select 2 names, and it's just going to be 1 and 2. I don't know any other way of doing it. The second gift is another yarn set, and this is, what did I call this one? I really love this colour. it's called Sparkling Grape. This is not available on my website yet. This is yarn that I am playing around with in my dye studio. I'm playing around with colours. So, but I love this. So there's 3 skeins of the dark grape and then a lighter contrast in champagne colour. Okay. And once again, it's not the pattern, it's just a pattern suggestion. So there's that sweater quantity of yarn and this pink project bag. And look, don't they match? How beautiful is that? So you will get that. You will get this bag, which has lots of pockets inside and outside, big enough to hold an iPad, and the matching leather notions pouch. And so I think they're seriously generous prizes, right? So both of those prizes have a value of around $350. So they're the 2 prizes that I'm going to donate for me reaching 3,000 subscribers, because it actually means the world to me. It's really, I just can't believe it's been nearly 3 years. Late July, August is my 3-year anniversary. So it's taken me 3 years to get to 3,000, and I just really hope that we get a momentum. I just hope it keeps rolling on. So I, as you know, won't be home for 4 weeks, and I probably won't podcast again for 5 weeks. So you've got a long time to get this done, and I don't know how long this podcast is, but it may take you a few sessions to get through it. I think it's quite a long, chatty one. So that's, I'm just looking, I've covered everything on my list. I've covered my gift with purchase for orders over $100. The ball bands have changed. You need one of these. $15 for these accessory sample kit. My giveaway, that's everything. I feel I'm going to feel really good once I've got this podcast done, edited and uploaded. Tomorrow's Mother's Day. Monday, I'm just going to cruise. I'm going to pack. I'm going to do my nails. I'm just really going to relax and really just enjoy the build up into me going away. And once again, I want to wish all the mums out there happy Mother's Day. I hope you have a great day. And I want to thank everybody for spending time with me. I know there's a lot of knitting podcasts out there. So if you've chose to hang around this long with me, big thank you. Please subscribe. Please give it the thumbs up. Please follow me on Facebook and Instagram and share it with any knitting friends. And I hope that I have shared something with you today that is either inspirational or just maybe expanded your knowledge a little bit on what's out there in this amazing, exciting knitting world. I will post some photos of Knit City Toronto, so they will appear on Facebook and Instagram. So I hope you follow my journey with me. It's going to be really good. Now I'm just waffling. So I'm going to wind it up here and say once again, just a really big thank you. Thank you for allowing me to celebrate 3,000, and I'm going to see you in probably about 5 weeks. So take care, everyone. Stay happy, stay healthy, get lots of knitting done, and see you all soon. Bye.